Everybody, I hope this finds you well. So this evening I want to talk about pelvic floor exercises. This chat is aimed towards pregnant ladies, but to be honest, everybody can get something out of this because we all have a pelvic floor and it's becoming more and more of an issue. Really, a lot of it is down to the fact that we are more sedentary, we're not moving around as much, and our pelvic floors, they don't have that strength, that flexibility, that control that we need there. Okay, so I'm going to cover some things that you should not be doing and also ways to kind of level up. So a lot of the time we have the very basic knowledge, which for pelvic floor exercises is squeeze and release, squeeze and release. But there's a little bit more to it, and in recent years we've gotten a lot more knowledge, and that knowledge is getting out there more and more to people. So really, that's why I make these videos, to share health knowledge with people, a little bit of education, a little bit more understanding about your own body. So let's get straight to it. So the basics of pelvic floor exercises, you're probably aware of those. And very simply, it's squeeze and release. And what do I mean by squeeze? What am I squeezing if you've never even heard of pelvic floor exercises? So your pelvic floor is your undercarriage, and if you are squeezing your pelvic floor, you're basically, the feeling, it's like trying to stop wee. So when you're passing urine, you're trying to stop that, or you're trying to stop a fart coming out. There's lots of other strange ways of describing it, but that's simply it. What would it feel like if you were to try and stop wee coming out? What would it feel like if you were to try and clench your undercarriage, your pelvic floor? And the basic pelvic floor exercises are simply that: squeeze the pelvic floor and relax the pelvic floor. And usually it is recommended in 2 sets: a slow set and a fast set. It's not a dance, slow set, all that jazz. It's doing it more, holding it for longer. So say, for example, if you squeeze for 3 to 4 seconds, release, squeeze again 3 to 4 seconds, and you do a round of 10 of that, and then you can move to the fast round, which is simply on off, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. Okay, that's the basics that people are given for their pelvic floor. And if you're at a starting point and you want to actually start there, an app that I recommend, very simple app, it's from the NHS, it's called Squeezy, and it's great. Lots and lots and lots of women use it, and it's very simply to remind you to do your pelvic floor exercises, and to give you, there's a little kind of timer looking thing on it that you can follow and watch to give the correct timing, that you are, for the long one, you're squeezing for the correct amount of time and relaxing for the correct amount of time, and for the short one that you have a little rhythm to follow. So you can get that. I think it's like, I remember paying something like $3.50 for it, and then you have it forever. And yeah, you set up what's appropriate for you. Everyone's going to be in a different stage. Postpartum is different to pregnancy, is different to an older person. You set up what's right for you, how many times a day, what time of the day, and it'll give you little reminders, and you can sit for 2 minutes and do your squeezes. So that's a good place to start. Now, let's build on that. So often I'll have clients coming into me and we might have to talk a little bit about pelvic floor health. They might be having issues with their back or with pubic area, and we need to talk about pelvic floor. And say, okay, you're doing pelvic floor exercises. Oh yeah, I'm doing my pelvic floor exercises. I always do them when I'm on the loo. This comes up lots. Now, tip here for you. Do not do your pelvic floor exercises while passing urine. Let that just be the time to pass urine, okay? When you're weeing, just let the wee happen. That initiation of weeing, the flow and emptying completely of your bladder, you don't want to interrupt that. You don't want to get crossed signals or alter that muscle memory, that reflex, the muscle memory and the reflex that is in there. You don't want to start messing around with that by every time you go to the loo doing your pelvic floor exercises. Okay, so that is a big don't, a big no. Do not do your pelvic floor exercises while you are passing water. Okay, if a lot of ladies will say, oh, well, you know, that's when I think of them. And I get it. Often it's really handy to align an exercise with something else that is already a habit. So you got to go to the loo, you got to go to the loo a couple of times a day so you can align it. But what I would say to you is if you're trying to match an exercise up with something else that is a habit, and if you're doing it with loo time, pass water first, finish what you're doing, and then maybe when you're washing your hands, just take an extra moment to do a couple of pelvic floor exercises. So you're still lining it up with something, and then it's easier to remember, but do not do it while you're passing water. Okay. The next thing that is another one that people miss out on is they get so focused on the exercise that they forget to breathe. This happens a lot, really and truly a lot, when people are doing exercises. They're really, which it's wonderful, like you're really focused on what you're doing, but then you're breathing differently, or you're focused so much on the exercise that you've stopped breathing altogether. So don't forget to breathe when you're doing pelvic floor exercises. Your diaphragm, which is your big breathing muscle at the base of your ribs, is very much connected to your pelvic floor. If you imagine your torso, your tummy area, the diaphragm is kind of like the roof, and the pelvic floor is like the floor or the foundations. So what goes on at the diaphragm influences the pelvic floor. Now, there's a lot more to that, but it's just a basic idea that if you are not breathing, holding your breath, or very shallow breathing up here, it's influencing your pelvic floor. And the whole thing about exercises that you're given to do at home, it's doing them right, doing them well. So much of my time with clients goes into checking that they're getting their exercises that they're doing at home right. All the time it happens that someone comes in, you're getting your exercises done, yeah, great, give me a look, show me what you're doing. And sometimes they're getting it 50% right, 60% right, maybe 90% right. And then when I just do that little tweak, or that give that little bit of advice to get it much, 100%, so often people feel, whoa, now I feel what's going on. Now I feel like I'm getting somewhere. So you don't want to be doing an exercise wrong, and then you're doing it for weeks or months on end, and then you find out you're actually not getting it right in the first place. So if you're working with me or with another practitioner, whatever the case may be, ask them, say to them, am I getting this right? I feel like I'm getting it 90% right, but maybe if you check me, you'll be able to tell me something that I can't see or don't know. So there definitely are do's and don'ts with these kind of exercises. And we often find it quite difficult when it comes to the pelvic floor to really connect in with our pelvic floor and feel what's going on. It can be really hard in the beginning to feel what's happening. So we've talked about the basics. We've talked about what not to do, more things not to do with breathing. And also, speaking with, if you have a rehabilitative plan, speaking with your practitioner to be really crystal clear that you're getting it right. So the next step is to go beyond the basics, okay? And I really suggest you think about this if you're interested in your pelvic floor health. So this exercise is very much about control and understanding what it feels like to completely tense your pelvic floor and to completely relax it. You don't just need a strong pelvic floor. So that's for years been in the health industry, strong pelvic floor. But in actual fact, you need a strong pelvic floor, you need a flexible pelvic floor, and you also need to completely understand and connect in with what it feels like to relax your pelvic floor. That is very important for pregnant ladies. When you come to Labor Day and you're birthing your baby, you need to know how to relax your pelvic floor. So it can be an issue for people that maybe they're an athlete, maybe even a professional athlete, and they might have a very tight pelvic floor, and they can find difficulties arise during the birthing process because they're not really connected in with how to relax their pelvic floor. So these are the components, the basic components of what a healthy pelvic floor is. It is strong, but it is also flexible. You can also control, you also have good control, and you also know how to relax it. So stick with me for this exercise. So what you're going to do is imagine your pelvic floor is like an elevator. So you're going up on the different levels. So you have floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, 4, 5. Let's go with 5 floors. So you start with a relaxed pelvic floor and you go up to floor 1. And what that is you squeeze about 20%. Floor 2, 40% squeeze. 3, 60% squeeze. 4, 80% squeeze. 100% maximum squeeze. Then when you're done, you completely relax your pelvic floor. Okay, so you can see from that you need control to do that, and you really need to be thinking about what you're doing. Sometimes the squeeze and release pelvic exercises can kind of sit there, squeeze, release, you can be a little bit relaxed about doing it, but with this one you need to actually focus very much on what am I feeling, what level am I at, maybe I've gone too far, maybe I need to come back. So that's step 1. Then you do the opposite, where you start at 100% squeeze, and then you drop down to 80, 60, 40, 20, and completely relax. And again, you need full control, and you need to feel from the front to the middle to the back, where is this working for me? Am I having more difficulty in one area than another to control this level? You could just start with a third, moving third, or 25, 50, 75, 100%. You work within, you have to always work within your own limitations. I've said many times before, these videos are to everybody and nobody at the same time. Your unique situation is just that, unique, and you need to work around your limitations. So that is a fantastic exercise for really tuning in with how well you're controlling the strength in your pelvic floor. Now, if you're really struggling with these and you're struggling to feel what's going on, getting into different positions, this is another little tip, getting into different positions to feel exactly what's happening in your pelvic floor can be wonderful. Getting down onto all fours, resting on your elbows and forearms, so your bum is up in the air, and then starting off some pelvic floor exercises and feeling what's there. Sometimes when you're standing or sitting, a little bit harder to connect in with what's going on. Another position that you can get into is with your legs straight up against the wall and you're lying on the ground, so you're at a kind of 90-degree angle. If you're pregnant, you need to be very wise about getting into that position. A, can you get into it? B, can you get out of it? C, what stage of pregnancy are you at? So it's not always going to be wise to be lying on your back, depending on the stage of pregnancy that you are in. So perhaps getting onto all fours, bum in the air, is going to be a little bit easier for pregnant ladies to have a try at, okay, can I feel my pelvic floor? What do I feel? What can I control? What can I relax? What can I tighten? Just going through it and exploring yourself, what you're connecting with. Okay, so that is a few do's and don'ts and ways to kind of level up, get to the next level. But really and truly with the pelvic floor exercises, we need to move beyond this very basic level, squeeze and release, because it's continuing for women to think it's all about having a tight pelvic floor. That's all I need. That's all that's important. And that's very narrow. You need strength, but you really do need flexibility. You need to be able to relax your pelvic floor, and you need to be able to control those muscles. Okay, so I did another video at another stage about specifically about how during labor your pelvic floor is very important, and just breaking that down, talking about the anatomy, why it's important, how it impacts your labor in a positive or not so positive way if there's issues there. So that's another video I have. It'll be back along the line. I did that last year at some stage, so that's another one that you can watch. And in other news, in coming weeks, I'm going to be doing an online pregnancy presentation, giving you some tips and advice and education on how to enjoy a natural, healthy, happy pregnancy, you know, just covering some basic issues that come up. You know, I see a lot of ladies with pelvic girdle pain, headaches, shoulder aches during pregnancy, and a lot of that can be helped with hands-on care, and it's all going to be gentle during pregnancy, you know. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed those tips. If you have any feedback, if you want to ask me any questions, please do. Please like, share the video, subscribe to my channel. All of that is wonderful. It's good to know that there are people out there watching and enjoying and hopefully getting something out of these videos. Okay, take care.